Welcome to the National Minority Supplier Development Council's Equity in Business podcast. My name is John Daniel, and I come to you humbly as your host. But I'm thrilled and excited to be here with Ms. Desha Elliott, who is the Impact Director of AOF, but she's also about to become a PhD. How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing well.
Pleasure to see you.
Thank you, John. Good to be with you. Yes, it's exciting. I'm so excited for being here and all the energy. I don't know if you've been telling, your listeners, but below us, there's just all of these suppliers and the corporations are here, and we're here to talk about capital and how it is we connect all the dots for entrepreneurs. So if ever there was a time to get to speak with you all, the time is now.
Well, we're on, ma'am, and I think one of the key things beyond the prowess of what you know about capital, our listeners and our viewers like to know who the person is, their backstory. Would you please share a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I think what's important to understand is that oftentimes we see things and they impact us decades beyond when it is we have those first experiences. So my first experience with maybe economic injustice or understanding inequality had to do with the riots. And so being from Northern Kentucky and being just a bridge away from Cincinnati and being able to see where economic development was definitely needed because a lot had happened since the Germans had laid their roots in Cincinnati, but then suburbanation happened, and then that left the downtown area kind of in shambles. But people lived there. But the people that lived there, they did not own the businesses. They did not own their homes. And you watched as the turmoil and the poverty and just the perpetual cycles of mistrust and scarcity really seeped in. And it finally exploded. And unfortunately, some folks, they not only lost their jobs and their homes, but there were, some individuals who lost their lives. And, we have, of course, unfortunately, the Trayvon Martins and the George Floyds, but there was a Timothy Thomas. Nobody puts his name in there, but that was 2000. And so here we are today, still seeing what happens when there's an economically distressed community. So I didn't know that's what I was looking at on TV back then, but it inspired me to say, I want to help people own their homes, own their businesses, and be able to create that economic security and freedom for themselves and their family.
It's a beautiful connection. You want to see a quality of life, health, wealth, education, workforce development come, but everything requires money. Or if you, even better, value.
Right.
And so you are an ambassador of that. I can hear it. Tell me this about AOF. Tell me what they do, their mission, vision, values, objectives.
Axion Opportunity Fund is a community development financial institution. They are a mission-based lender that under the United States Treasury has a mandate of serving low-income, businesses of color, women-owned businesses. They provide working capital, education, technical assistance, and also, we're known for advocacy. And so how it is that we are addressing policy for our small business owners on the national level. So whether it's capital, coaching, or networks, we have spent the last 30 years being able to be that mission-based lender for these underserved entrepreneurs. And what's amazing is that if you take just even locally where we are, there's known to be a $9 billion capital gap. And that's just in one place. However, you're also looking at where there's tightening credit requirements. And then you have people who are still recovering from, say, the pandemic, or even just being able to navigate whether or not they should take the next step with their business, because they're having to learn whether or not they should take this capital that comes out of the register every day, or is it capital from a lender that is going to require them to have forms that they're not familiar with, because you may not need to be the best accountant to be the best chef or the best truck driver or the best electrical engineer.
Right.
But you need that when you're talking to a financier that's understanding risk.
Right.
And so these CDFIs have the ability to not necessarily be as stringent on those 5 C's as your other traditional lenders. Are you familiar with those 5 C's?
Please, I think that you should articulate them so everybody hears it. Come on.
Yes. Okay. So you have capital, capacity, collateral, cash flow, and you're also looking at conditions. And so when the lender is looking at your application, they're saying, okay, based on the money that you've made within the last year, and even future, what type of risk can we take? What is 15 to 20% of that future or what you've historically done? They want to know if you have some type of asset that you could leverage, just in case things go south. But hopefully they'll stay north. And it's ideal if you have, a house or equipment. They're looking at your credit score, your character, essentially. And they're helping you understand, or you're helping them understand, how has your positive or negative behavior affected your relationships with other lenders? And then capacity. If you have a $2,000 loan payment every month, when we fit it back in based on the bank statements and everything else that you're leveraging, can you afford it? And last but not least, depending on the industry, is there some macroeconomics that is going to affect maybe you having a slow or down year? Are we able to take a risk with that? And so as an institution, and it's great work, but it is very difficult to have a financially sustainable CDFI.
Yes.
So making those sound decisions, but then also creating impact, is an everyday joy, but then also it takes work.
I believe the MBEs coming to you have a healthy ecosystem. What I just heard you say is policy, coaching, networking, which sounds like the ecosystem we had with the National Minority Supplier Development Council. The only thing is your focus is on making sure that particular group is moving forward. It doesn't get better than that. It's almost an entrepreneurial incubator. So thank you for sharing what AOF does. What are your leadership responsibilities within that context?
Great question. And as proud strategic partners of NMSDC, our similar missions and who it is that we serve help bring us together. And that's why this partnership and this timing is perfect. As far as my specific role, I get the opportunity to help guide, strategize
Mm-hmm.
on not just only the Georgia market in which where we sit right now, but also help our organization really connect the dots on the development of great partnerships, the ability to serve industries that normally wouldn't be capitalized for the
Mm-hmm.
first few years, and then also help create those ecosystem moments.
Mm-hmm.
And so making sure that not only do we have the strategic partnership with NMSDC, but what does that look like as we come back down to the GMSDC or any other of the chapters? And how do we make sure that it's not just once a year that they're prepared and capitalized and coached and ready to approach their clients, these corporations, any other B2C, B2G
Mm-hmm.
customers that they have, but how is it that they know that there's a mission-based institution in their corner every day?
I love it. You have delved into talking about the relationship with the National Minority Supply Development Council. Tell me about, and this may be a bit redundant, but tell me about how it started, when it started, and dovetail on that, what's happening here at this conference that is a benefit to you. And later, and if you want to talk about it now, it's fine too. I want to know your vision for the future with this organization.
AOF has had a few years of working with the different chapters, whether it's partnering on a program or connecting their suppliers with, say, the different corporations, again, on a local level.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to make sure that our impact and our ability to help entrepreneurs was on a national level. And so, AOF has the pleasure of having 140 amazing people who are focused on the mission.
Mm-hmm.
And so within our digital department, within our marketing department, within our sales department, we knew that the time was now to make sure that our national relationship was tighter than ever.
Gotcha.
And that it's not just the glitz and the glamour that come with saying, we have helped, such and such and so industry. No, we wanted to make sure that we are aligning ourselves with an organization that has measurable outcomes. And also puts us into position of saying, if there's a bigger issue that maybe our entrepreneurs don't have, say they need AI, they need to have more energy, utility focuses, we're aligned with an organization that already has the trusted partners and knowledge, and we come together and partner on that front. And we continue to help these entrepreneurs. Our clients, when I think about them, they are sometimes knee deep, ceiling high with getting through the day to day. And even if you are transitioning out of, say, your 9 to 5, or you're now on your second location,
Yes, ma'am.
you're now in your 7 figures, having the partnership with NMSDC means that we're guiding entrepreneurs from day one. Your certification looks like this, puts you in touch with this, and we're going to make sure that when they ask for that annual recertification, you're proud to move through those different classes because you've had the financial management coaching, you've had the marketing, the legal, the operations. And because you've been working with us for as long as you also have the sales and the capital to leverage as you go after these different opportunities.
This is tremendous. I mean, what this tells me is that you're moving forward being effective, being efficacious, and being efficient, which means those are the basics of being a good entrepreneur, plus your drive, plus your ability to identify what's needed in the market. But this network that you've established certainly takes that to a complete different level. I want to dive down a little bit further on your employees. You've got 140 powerful employees. That's what I just heard.
Yes.
Now, how do you attract that talent and intentionality? Because you can have talent, but not be intentional about doing the right thing. How do you attract, train, and develop those employees?
I definitely have to give credit where credit is due.
Come on.
Because, our amazing human resources department, our amazing education and marketing, we do a phenomenal job of not just on paper saying we're a mission-based lender.
Yes, ma'am.
We are providing opportunities for employees to really unpeel and unpack and really connect with our customers at the core level. So being able to see the results of your work, it's not just another loan or another email or another sales call. This is going to affect the Vania and Danias that come to conferences like this.
Come on.
The sister companies that, because we've worked so hard on the partnership with our corporate partners, that we're able to then have affordable capital for these women-owned businesses of color, to be able to open up the doors, to hire another employee, to expand, to have mergers and acquisitions as, Vania and Dania, or if it's Juan, or if it's Dr. Corey Amos, a new spice line. It's not just money. And the capital that we're providing, because it's capital, coaching, and networks, is social capital. The organization listens when the entrepreneurs come back in their coaching session. They say, I'm the only one in my circle, or, I do not have a trusted marketing partner. Where do I turn? What do I do? And in terms of how it is that we attract, CDFI.
Before you go on, because everything you say resounds with me. There are no invisible men and women with your organization. Okay? I'm going back to Ralph Ellison. Okay? We see you and you belong. I just wanted to grab that because that was powerful. Go on to the attract.
We had a chance to really learn from the pandemic in so many ways as an organization.
Yes, ma'am.
And during the height of the pandemic is when we merged. So, quick story, the Axion US network is, very familiar with those in the financial institution. We merged with Opportune Fund, which was your boots on the ground micro lender in California. We come together, it's February or March 2020, and we go from all boots on the ground to now we're purely digital. But in terms of scaling technology, we had to make sure touch was there. And sometimes as an organization is growing and swelling, and we're making sure folks aren't having to shut their doors down and that they can pause on their loan payments and nobody's in person, the whole team works from home. We're a little bit back in person now with the headquarters being in San Jose. But for the most part, we were maintaining safety. It was the employees, their creativity, their ability to, again, heal and dig down and really tie themselves in with the plight of the entrepreneur. That is the spirit and the energy that we were able to take out of the pandemic. Everybody was needed.
Struggle, perseverance, character, hope. Y'all made it happen. Okay, excuse my urban colloquial expression, but that's what it sounds like to me.
And I work for an amazing CEO, Luz Urrutia, who came to this country from Venezuela, had the fortune of working for a phenomenal bank, but she was declined for a credit card for $500 because on paper she was invisible in the credit system. So she worked hard, opened up a bank of her own for the Hispanic community, sold it, had a few other roles, and then came to our organization. And when you meet Luz, she'll roll up her sleeves. And I say, wait, you're a whole CEO. And her attitude is, if I won't do it, I can't ask you to do it.
As we come to a close, there are two things I want to reflect on. One is we need to do podcast 2. And let's bring in one of the MBEs that you're serving.
Sure.
And if you choose to, let's bring in your president. Let's get that top to bottom look on what's going on. And certainly you're going to be here. So I think it would be a powerful show. So I'm inviting you to do that. And when you can, we'd love to do it. Secondly, I would be remiss in not asking you if anything that you haven't shared, because we talked about an awful lot in a short period of time. But share now, before that second podcast, what you think is important.
Access to capital is the difference between knowing who to ask, how much to ask, and what you are going to do with the money. When we started this interview, you said there's a backstory, there's an understanding that you have that often those who come from where you come from don't experience, don't know. It is my mission, my ministry, to ensure that capital, whether non-dilutive or dilutive, will be able to be accessible, understood, and at a level that you can compete no matter the industry. So as we think about what is that big vision, what is that next thing that you'll be looking for either from my organization or myself, it's revolutionizing the way that access to capital is currently received. Because traditional will have to be untraditional if we're going to meet the needs of the entrepreneurs in this changing world.
Indeed, that'll actually be a return on investment for America. It's going to change the game.
72 billion reasons. $72 billion is the number that would be contributed if even just one Black woman-owned business hired an employee. That's one demographic, one employee. The economics are there.
I love it. Data-driven, evidence-based. Thank you, Ms. Desha Elliott. Let's not make it long before we do part 2. So please talk to the shiro of your company. And let's make that happen quickly, as soon as we can. Thank you.